Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time for Friday, August 20th, 2010. David Hero and Damian Nelson, myself, sitting here with you.
Sure?
I'm certain I said it backwards. I had to clean it up a little bit. Would have been fine had you not called it out.
Could we just reset the tape?
No, we're live here. Lots of stuff to discuss this week, David, so let's get right down to it. And let's talk about WWE Summerslam from this past Sunday on pay-per-view. We talked about it extensively on our post-show wrap-up and on this past Monday's ESPN radio show. But the big highlights coming out of SummerSlam, a new Divas champion in Melina.
That's how you're going to start the show.
I said highlights.
I was going to be in a great mood. Happy, joy. What the gimmick was you were talking about earlier? What was that thing you mentioned?
The Animaniacs.
Yeah,
Wacko, and Dot.
yeah. I was going to be Wacko, and Dot.
Yakko, Wacko, and Dot.
Wacko, and...
Dot's the cute one, you know.
Okay.
Alicia Fox losing the Divas Championship to Melina. Come on, you're a broadcast journalist here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're a broadcast
I'm
opinionist.
An opinionist.
So what's your opinion of this matchup? Melina coming out looking like a cross between the gobbledygooker Big Bird and the the Dragon Ricky Steamboat.
That was
in
brutal.
his WWE days.
That was brutal. And to watch that in high def, oh my gosh, it was blinding.
Now, once she took off the fur,
You know-
things got a lot better.
Yeah. Here's the thing. They did business
Apparently
right.
you say that a lot.
I do say that a lot. Here's the thing. It's all
What's
about
the
the
thing?
thing. This is a thing right here. Here's the thing. Melina comes back and beats Alicia Fox for the championship. Edge wins the Rumble, but loses to Chris Jericho. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Melina comes back after 8 months off, 9 months off. Within 2 weeks, she's the new champ. It just doesn't make sense. But the whole SummerSlam card didn't make any sense, and
You didn't like it going into it.
I didn't like it going into it, and I ranted about it Monday night. The medication is working, so I'm not quite so frustrated anymore. But no, it wasn't good business. Make the babyface chase the heel. That's where the money is.
Rey Mysterio versus Kane. Kane retains the World Heavyweight Championship, but we did see the return of The Undertaker, who first goes after Rey Mysterio and then goes after Kane after coming back from being in that vegetative state. Not all there was The Undertaker.
I think The Undertaker was the best part of SummerSlam.
Best part.
The best part. Because he came out, he looked like he was ill, he looked like he's been in a vegetative state, and the crowd reaction was phenomenal. I would almost say it was tremendous. # tremendous. It was that good.
It was so obvious that it was going to happen, though.
You think?
I think so. I'm not saying the way that it was done, but I think going into SummerSlam, you knew The Undertaker was going to be returning. The time was right. He had taken his WrestleMania to SummerSlam vacation.
Yeah, well, but that was kind of because of this little guy here, the Kermit the Frog.
The story behind the story, if you don't know, is the true person who did injure The Undertaker was Rey Mysterio.
Yep, the Slurpee boy.
In a matchup a couple of months back, and it's sort of funny that... that's
broke
the way
his
the story
orbital
went.
bone.
Yeah, that takes some effort.
An eye for an eye. He wasn't kidding.
Nexus versus Team WWE. We heard earlier in the evening that The Miz had accepted the challenge of WWE and would be number 7 on their team. Well, he waited too long apparently because John Cena had gone out and found another person to fill out Team WWE, and that was the returning Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan back in WWE, Team WWE, defeating the Nexus on Sunday at SummerSlam.
I don't know who I would have rather have had.
Miz? It's a great promo he cut earlier in the night.
It was a great promo, but because it was so good, you almost knew he wasn't going to be there.
You may have had it.
Because there's no way he could win, because he buried everybody.
Yeah. Daniel Bryan's return, though, a bit of a, and maybe it was different live, but I was surprised at the lack of reaction for the return of Daniel Bryan.
It's been off TV for so long.
About 65 days, 55 days, something like that.
That's a long time on TV.
So people had to nudge their friends and say, who's that? Who's that guy? Who's that guy? Oh, it's Daniel Bryan. So it was a delayed pop.
Is that William Regal's kid? Like, could pass for father and son, couldn't they?
Good.
But I will say this, Daniel Bryan is a hell of a worker. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I like the little tribute kip up to Shawn Michaels in the match.
I would say that the stars of that matchup on the WWE side, as you said, would be Daniel Bryan, and on the Nexus side, no doubt, Skip Sheffield and Heath Slater.
Skip Sheffield, you know what? He is the last guy I thought would have anything to give. He's got it. You know, there's something special about the guy.
Corn-fed meathead.
He is corn-fed. Absolutely.
Heath Slater, I was a little bit surprised there. He eliminated both Chris Jericho and Edge.
Wow. That's a rib on somebody. I mean, how does Edge and Jericho both agree to that? I mean,
Well, you got to
know
go out and do what you got to do.
They did.
Are you
good
in your job
business.
squad this week or no?
No, I'm not jobbing this week. I'm all about chops. I got chops. It's Rick Fuller's shirt.
Overall, your thoughts on WWE SummerSlam, pass or fail?
Fail.
Really?
I didn't like it.
Second biggest pay-per-view of the year from WWE. I would like him to say that that's the
don't
Royal
know.
Rumble, but
I'd say
that's
it's
the way they
Mania,
push it.
then the Rumble, then SummerSlam.
all right.
Because Rumble sets up WrestleMania.
Well, sometimes.
It has to.
You got the road bump called No Way Out or Elimination Chamber
Okay.
on the way, which
Alright.
they change things.
You're the
sometimes.
expert.
I would say that SummerSlam overall was decent. We
We
did.
watched it together.
We did. I would say it was decent.
Were you watching a different screen?
No, I'm not going to sit here and bury
You
it.
know,
I was.
No. You know why you liked it? Because The Miz got so much TV time.
Well, what's wrong with that? I'm a Ms. Mark. I'm the Ms. Marquis. Happy to
I
say it.
get that. I understand that. But it wasn't good.
We did have a online survey at our website, pwrshow.com, where we asked you, what did you think of SummerSlam, pass or fail? Some 80% of you gave it a passing grade.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
They're all John Cena fans.
About 6% didn't watch, about 14%, 12% rather, saying that it was fail. But you know what's so good and what WWE does so well is they can give you 2 hours and 28 minutes of crap. The
Right.
worst stuff ever. And in those last 20 minutes, they can do something spectacular. And they have this way of making you almost forget, you being a general wrestling fan, almost forget about the crap you sat through. And I'm not saying that was the case with SummerSlam, by the way.
I wonder if that 80% marked out for Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. Well,
and The Miz.
he's big
Those
in the
two
internet
things.
wrestling community. Yeah.
Those two things right there.
I would say
But they
probably
can't say
did.
it was good wrestling action.
I thought Kingston and Ziggler started off well until Nexus got involved.
That
I liked the
happened.
Daniel Bryan inclusion. I thought the Divas match was decent. Kane and Rey Mysterio, I just didn't care about it going into it. And I liked the story that was told during the Nexus versus Team WWE match, aside from the ending of it with John Cena being, I believe he was DDT'd on concrete, which used to put you out for 3 months back in the day.
At least 3 months.
And comes
Jake
back
Roberts
in and
put out
defeats.
Ricky Steamboat for a long time that way.
Mhm.
You know, Ricky Steamboat got beat up a lot, didn't he?
He did. He,
Macho Man, Jake Roberts, Nexus.
You can hear our full review of SummerSlam with our live post show that we did right after the pay-per-view, available at pwrshow.com, and also this past Monday's ESPN radio show, also available at pwrshow.com on demand. David Harrell, this past Tuesday, WWE NXT had a double elimination.
Amazing.
At the beginning of the show, Percy Watson eliminated. No real rhyme or reason to why he was eliminated. They
Did
didn't
that
do
hurt?
rankings. Hurt me?
Yeah.
Not at all. Why should it?
Didn't you pick him?
No, I didn't pick it.
Oh, I thought you picked him.
No, I picked Caval.
You did not pick
I
him.
absolutely picked Caval. Matter of fact, wrote a song about it. Like to hear it go. Where'd I write that down at?
Yeah,
Because I also wrote down who you picked. I keep everything here. I write notes. Let's see, Hero. What
I
did
picked
Hero
Wade
pick?
Barrett.
You did not.
I
You
did
last
pick Wade
year
Barrett.
you may have, but not for this season.
The first one is the only one.
So, ladies
Yeah,
and gentlemen,
you got nothing.
let the spin begin because you picked the man who would be eliminated second. Right here, if you want to review those notes. DH. The man who was
I didn't
eliminated
pick Percy
second.
Watson.
The man who was eliminated second on NXT this past Tuesday, Husky Harris, was your pick.
Who's Eli Cottonwood?
He was
I
eliminated.
didn't pick him either.
That's who Rashi picked.
Oh.
The Cos picked Mike McGillicuddy. I picked Caval. You picked Husky Harris. And thus far, the Cos and I are the only ones still in this thing.
Wow. Okay, if you say I picked Husky Harris,
That was on June 30th, just so you know.
That's fine. I believe you.
So, Husky Harris eliminated, and David Hero, a lot of buzz about two things, several things actually. The match between Husky Harris and Caval, which was a great match, I thought. Only 4 or 5 minutes, but it was a great match. And also, Caval's promo that he cut when they had a minute to talk about not being eliminated from NXT, and referenced total nonstop action.
I don't think he meant to reference it like
Oh,
that.
no, he was mentioning TNA. Of course he was.
No.
Don't you read the internet?
I do.
Oh.
The Braille version.
Then, as we said, Husky Harris eliminated, and really, there was a breakout potentially again on NXT this week, as Cody Rhodes lost his mind. He dashed right down from that stage to the ring, and really ran down all the remaining members of NXT, and cut what many people said was the best microphone work that he had ever done.
That no one's heard. Because it won't be replayed on SmackDown, it won't be talked about on Raw, and if you missed it on NXT, you missed it. I didn't see it. So, therefore, it didn't happen.
So remaining are Caval,
Mm-hmm.
Michael McGillicuddy,
Yes.
and Alex Riley. Care to repick? You were suddenly quiet on Tuesday. Mr. Owner of the hash mark
You know what?
had nothing to say.
No.
Oh, yeah, why? Because your pick got kicked off the show.
Yeah, so what's there to say about it? It's ridiculous.
Oh, had your pick won or not gotten
I wouldn't
kicked
have
off.
said a word until the
right.
final week.
Uh-huh.
You know, and honestly, the other 3 guys, Husky Harris was the winner, so it doesn't matter who wins now.
Here's what's interesting. I was intrigued when we got to the Final 4 on NXT. Because it was like, well, I really don't see who makes sense to eliminate.
Alex Riley needs to go.
Really?
Yes.
What don't you like about him?
Everything.
Really?
Everything.
But as we talked about this past Monday on the
He
ESPN
looks
radio
like
show.
every other guy.
As we talked about on this past week's ESPN radio show, he makes a great lackey for the Miz.
Yes, he is the Cody Rhodes of the Miz. Yeah, so he doesn't have to win to be a lackey. Fire him. Start over fresh. You don't think it's more interesting to
I just don't understand why you sit here every single week
I don't.
and just run down Cody Rhodes. He's a second-generation superstar.
I'm not running him down.
Yeah, you did.
How?
Saying Alex Riley is just like Cody Rhodes.
Because he is. Right now he is. Okay. What is Cody Rhodes? Here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
Hash mark, here's the thing. What has he done?
Oh, he's giving
tips.
grooming tips?
That's it. That's it. Tell me how that makes him a star.
I'm simply saying there's a lot of buzz out there about... Have you watched the promo?
No, I told you I didn't see it.
Right, but it's available out on YouTube. It's actually available on the PWR website right now.
I'll go to PWR website and look at it, but it's not on my top 25,000 things
Nope.
to do right now.
Your hate has no bounds.
I have a lot of hate. I do. I do.
NXT Sci-Fi announces their fall schedule, and NXT's not on it. SmackDown moving to Sci-Fi on October
Whoa.
1st.
Really?
Really? Not on it.
So, Cody Rhodes got NXT kicked off of Sci-Fi? Terrible. I try warning y'all. No one listens. They were just fine last season when he wasn't on it. Now it's off?
At this point, it's
It's
not
probably
on
because of that
Sci-Fi.
promo last night. Probably scared some of the Sci-Fi execs. It's okay. Move along.
NXT. Will anybody miss it if it does not appear on the fall television schedule?
I'm sure some people will.
Would you replace Superstars with NXT on
Yes.
WGN?
I don't like superstars.
No reason to watch it.
No.
Aside from great wrestling, by the way. 3 good matches in general is what you get out of
Right.
Superstars.
Right.
But I guess in today's day and age, that doesn't go very far.
You know. Well, but like you said earlier, how many times do you want to watch Chris Masters?
I like to watch him wrestle.
I
each
like
and every
Chris
show.
Masters. I don't know what the problem you got with him, but
We made up. Everything's fine.
okay.
Everything's
We'll
fine.
see.
Well, David Hero, Paul Heyman had some interesting things to say in an interview this past Monday night. But before we get to that, you know, it's been a while since we've done interactive. So how about we read a couple of emails? We got some questions to spur some conversation from a couple of listeners and viewers out there in the internet wrestling community.
You know what? If that's going to make you happy tonight,
It will make me happy. It'll
then
put a
let's
smile
do
on my
it.
face.
Then
Let's
do
start
it.
with
It's all about the smiles.
Let's start with Kermit Garnett from Gaithersburg, Maryland. And he says this: with the new tag titles here and the angle with Lay Cool and Molina, also with Sheamus saying he is the new Big Red Machine to Kane, I'm really thinking WWE will unify the women's and divas titles in WWE and heavyweight belts. Then get rid of SmackDown and just have Raw again. This seems very possible with the way the wrestling is going. Do you think it is possible? Why or why not? Little backstory there. We saw the unification of the tag team championships this past Monday night on Raw, where Bret Hart presented the new titles, which are receiving some mixed reviews out there.
They look like big pennies. Don't they?
They did, actually.
It's kind of like you take the penny down to the railroad track and wait for the train to come crush them.
A-Train?
Sure, A-Train, L-Train.
And what the Co-Divas champions, Lay Cool, and now the broken belts, which is unique. Will we see a unification of any other titles, in your opinion, David Hero?
No. No, because none of the other titles mean anything.
None? World doesn't?
Just the
WWE?
world. Just the
IC?
world and WWE. IC means nothing.
Even with Ziggler carrying it?
They proved that when they had Nexus interfere in his title match. At one time, the IC belt was the second biggest belt in that company.
And you know what's funny is if you watch the preview for SummerSlam, which was running on cable outlets and satellite outlets, and even right before the show, they focused on what matches? Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect,
Great match.
British Bulldog Bret Hart,
Shawn Michaels and Razor.
Shawn Michaels Razor, and the Ultimate Warrior's rise to fame when he beat the Honky Tonk Man in record time for a championship match.
See, SummerSlam used to be the IC title match showcase.
Yeah.
Not this year.
But none of those matches, aside from Bret and Bulldog, was the main event.
Well, yeah, because that was in England.
I know, I'm just saying. While there was focus on the
Because
Intercontinental
it's always
Championship.
the number 2 title. But that match almost always stole the show.
So to Kermit, we say, no, it does not seem
Moving right
possible
along.
that SmackDown's going to go away. Let's do one more here. Dave from Norfolk in the United Kingdom says, just wondering why you haven't really mentioned the Beer Money Motor City Machine Gun series of matches on Impact. The series has simply been amazing, and I think the teams and TNA deserve some praise. By the way, TNA is still going strong in the UK.
Can I address this?
Yes, please.
We can't talk about the match unless we get permission to talk about the match.
Thanks, pal.
Just saying.
They had an epic encounter last Thursday night on Impact. Not last night, but the week before. It was the final match in the Best of 5 series. A lot of people saying a lot of good things about that matchup. It was excellent. All their matches in the series was excellent. And here's the point that I think need to be made about those matches. While they aired over several weeks, they happened, in series of 2, night to night, when they taped the shows.
Within 4 days.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what these men put their bodies through for those matchups. And, it's funny, some people say tag team wrestling's dead. I think it's difficult to say.
It's dead in one company. It's not
That
dead
being
in
the E?
Yes.
So a great matchup, and kudos to all 4 of those participants. It doesn't really get much better than Bobby Roode right now. And Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin have always been spectacular. And we're seeing, I think, a bit more intensity now with them holding those tag straps.
Bobby Roode is the kind of guy that he eats, sleeps, drinks, and breathes wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've been to some of the TNA house shows where this guy is just working out and hanging and banging and doing cardio right up until his match.
Yeah.
I mean, he is focused, he's driven. It's only a matter of time before he becomes a breakout star. Not saying he isn't already, but it's almost like the Hart Foundation. But James Storm is a better Jim Neidhart.
And a lot of people say, we've talked to a lot of the talents on air and off air, and a lot of people say, who's that one star in TNA? Who's that breakout
Always
guy?
Bobby Roode.
There's never anyone else on the list. It's
Nope.
always him.
Is that Doink?
Yeah, that's the vintage video of the week, Doink versus Doink from WrestleMania 9.
You can't beat that Doink.
Thank you for those emails. We'll get to a couple more later. But as we said before, David Hero, and thank you, Dave Awesome, is the one that sent that over
kinda
from the
warm in
United
here, isn't
Kingdom. It is a little bit. Paul Heyman did an interview this past Monday night with the MMA Hour, hosted by Ariel Helwani. And he said a couple of interesting things about the business overall. And we talked with TNA superstar Ken Anderson about these comments this past Monday night on our ESPN radio show. So be sure to check that out if you haven't already. We can talk about that. Yes, you can go ahead and get that dropped right to your iPod. And the best way to get it is on the PWR iTunes application, which is available at pwrshow.com. You can get to all the shows there. But let's talk, Dave, you and I, about some of Paul Heyman's comments. He said that wrestling is easy to book, but they make it too complicated these days. He added that wrestling today is trying too hard to outthink themselves.
I believe that. Absolutely.
Are they trying too hard to outthink themselves or outthink the IWC?
Themselves.
Heyman goes on to say that there are still no new ideas in wrestling. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I guess. I mean, what's been new lately?
Nexus? Which isn't really new.
That's not really new. It's
The concept is not new.
No. Hardcore Justice, that's not new. X Division match is really a ladder match. No, nothing's new. Nothing.
Paul Heyman said he has no interest in being an on-air guy for either mixed martial arts or professional wrestling, and that he's been on TV since he was 21, and saying he is frickin' sick of it. I don't know if you wanted to read that word there.
That's not frickin'.
That's not frickin'.
No.
I mean, I just didn't know if you wanted to say that
Hey,
again.
I'm a good
not.
Christian boy. Be careful now, champ.
Now, it gets juicy when he starts talking about TNA, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. He said, and I quote, "TNA has held me back from TNA. They are not ready for me." That's what he said.
See, and here's the thing I don't understand.
What don't you understand?
And Paul Heyman, he's a mastermind.
Mhm.
He's very smart. He's very good at what he does.
Mad scientist-ish.
I think TNA's in a better spot than ECW ever was. They're not bouncing checks.
Financially, yeah.
Yeah. And they have more star power than ECW ever had.
But if Paul Heyman had the backing that TNA has,
Mhm.
how much more successful can he be than he
Well,
was in ECW?
Here's the answer to your question. Would Kurt Angle, Kevin Nash, Sting, even Ken Anderson and Jeff Hardy and the Pope, Beer Money, would they do all those crazy spots in ECW that those guys did back in the day?
Some, maybe.
Come on. Who?
Jeff Hardy would.
Okay, Jeff. That's one. The other guys wouldn't do that stuff.
But ECW was about more than crazy spots. We've had this discussion.
But what do you think of when you think of ECW?
Extreme.
You think of Kimono Wanalea doing the striptease when the ring broke,
Yeah.
right? Okay. You think of "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" You know, guys wrapped in barbed wire. You don't think of 5-star matches. You think of a 5-star frog splash.
Heyman continued and said, "I have no plans on going back into the wrestling business, and I have no desire to get back into the wrestling business." A bit contradictory to
I don't believe him.
what he said earlier.
I don't believe that at all.
Said he didn't take TNA seriously until Dixie Carter called him herself. He said the time slots TNA has on Spike are intriguing, but that TNA has a specific vision, and they are unclear to themselves about that vision.
Wish he'd say what the vision was.
I don't know if he's clear on it,
Well, TNA obviously isn't clear on it,
in his opinion.
in his opinion.
He also said bottom line with TNA is this. TNA is looking to serve too many masters, and you have to have a long-range plan in this industry.
All he's doing is jockeying for position.
What does he need to jockey for? He's
Because
got a
by
position
him
if he wants it.
saying no, they just want him that much more.
Why is this so public?
Because he's jockeying for a position. See, here's the thing. He knows TNA wants him.
Mm-hmm.
He's just waiting for the checkbook to be opened up. He's waiting for Hogan and Bischoff to leave. Then he's going to come sliding right in. And I don't know if by the time he comes in, if he can save that company. Here's why. You got 12 guys with contracts coming due in October.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Lee wasn't the greatest communicator with a lot of the talent.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those guys might not want to stay and work with him.
Right. You know, it's interesting.
He owes a lot of people a lot of money still.
It's interesting with some of these contracts that are expiring, and some are saying that the push of Caval, the push of a Bryan Danielson, the signing recently of an ROH talent, that WWE is potentially sending a message to a lot of talent out there that is not with WWE that, hey, come on board, and the burials of past may not be the way we go in the future.
They're still there. They are. H, Orton, Cena. The triad.
Paul Heyman said WWE has a 90 to 95% market share of the wrestling business. Vince eats, lives, and sleeps pro wrestling, and you aren't taking market share out of this guy's pocket. He added, you will have to fight for every inch of turf you get. Valid. TNA chases Thursdays and are biting their fingernails, waiting for the numbers to come in on Friday afternoon, and they will never go anywhere if they keep with that mentality.
Yeah, you just got to do what you do, and you can't worry about the numbers.
Eventually it'll stick. This is a pretty vicious statement here, and I quote, if I was a legend in TNA, I would not want Paul Heyman to walk through the door. If you're over 40, you're getting your frickin' head cut off. I don't want a bunch of guys in their 40s. When talking about the whole...
I want to see him try to cut Kevin Nash's head off.
Talking about the whole effing show...
You need a stepladder for that.
Talking about the whole effing show at Hardcore Justice, he says, TNA comes off their pay-per-view and do this 2-hour show. And it's the original lineup for Hard Justice. They build the whole show to Hulk Hogan's big announcement to bring out the ECW guys that get their asses kicked by Ric Flair's guys. All the ECW guys are in their 40s, and all the focus is on Flair, who is even older. Back to this age issue in professional wrestling. Does it matter as much to the fans as it does?
It does matter.
Does?
It does. Because here's the thing. Some of the guys are watching it with their dads, and they're like, he's still alive?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of, hurts a little bit.
If Heyman was booking the show, he would have all the ECW guys, Hogan, Flair, etc., say, yeah, they are here, but they really want to see that final best-of-5 match between Bear Money and the Guns, and give that match the main event spot instead of giving all these older talent a main event spot.
At the end of the day, the wrestling fans still want to see Hulk Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
As awesome as Beer Money and the Machine Guns matches are, the average wrestling fan still wants to see Hulk Hogan. He's just the brand.
Recently, you were asked if Paul Heyman would be in TNA at some point, and your answer was yes.
He will be eventually, because I don't believe Hogan and Bischoff will last through the rest of the year, and that's going to be interesting. But like I said, October is a huge month for TNA when you got 12 to 14 guys' contracts are up, bound for glory. The Hogan and Bischoff era could very well be done. Who knows who's going to be left standing when it's all said and done?
And finally, Paul Heyman said about Ring of Honor, they have a unique product and don't get enough exposure.
There's not enough room. There's already too much wrestling on TV. You got Monday Night Raw, you got Tuesday Night NXT, you got Superstars, you got Impact, you got SmackDown, you got AM Raw, you got, Raw Espanol on Sundays. It's like, where do you find the room to put another wrestling show on? Plus, they got to squeeze us in somewhere.
Paul Heyman, always controversial in his comments. You can see that interview. It's available, and it's out there right now. We'll get it posted on the PWR website as well. John Nolan had sent us an email, which we'd already answered, regarding NXT and its continuation. It would make some sense to us to see it continue in the spot of Superstars, if not on Sci-Fi, or maybe as an additional program from WWE.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's an online show.
Yeah, I could do that.
To just direct people more to their website.
Yeah.
That way, if you miss it, you can watch it on demand for the entire week.
Last week, TNA did present that special, the whole effing show. Last night, you saw the follow-up to that, RVD stripped of the TNA World Heavyweight Championship.
How amazing was Ric Flair?
As tremendous, as
tremendous.
# tremendous as he and Jay Lethal of a few weeks back.
Yeah. And
there was more, I understand.
There was a lot that was edited out. that I heard was standing ovation stuff in the back.
Mm-hmm.
That no matter what everyone tried to do to get over on Rick, he got over on them even more.
Wow!
Mhm.
Wow! Speaking of which, where's Jay Lethal nowadays? Haven't seen much of him lately.
You think maybe he's in the same spot as Kofi?
Could be.
Push, push, push.
It's a tournament, David, to determine the new TNA
Mm.
World Heavyweight Champion. We know of a couple of matches.
Yeah.
Advancing so far. Ken Anderson,
I'm happy for Ken.
Kurt Angle,
Not surprising.
and the Pope.
Good for the Pope.
I think that will culminate at Bound for Glory 10-10-10 down in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Wait,
David
wait,
Hero.
do you think that the Pope and Ken could face off again?
I think that it's very likely.
Ken, listen, you let me down once. Can't have this happen a second time.
You said to him this past Monday
I did.
on the radio show, it would have been fine if you would have just won.
If you, yeah, you know what? I will repeat this to him on Sunday, 2 days from now at Romine's High Pockets.
Nice, good.
27th in College,
3 p.m. to 5 p.m.
3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Mr. Anderson, Ken Anderson, will be there signing autographs. Go to pwrshow.com or blizzardbrawl.com. $20 an autograph. And yeah, Ken and I are going to sit down and we're going to chat about this because I can't afford to take another hit.
You may be there live this time when it happens because we're going to be live
No.
from Daytona Beach, Florida.
We will be in Daytona Beach.
Yes, we will, but you
Yeah.
may be there to see that match happen if it gets that far.
Well, I think I'll be.
And if you run in the ring, you want to talk about heat, there'll be a lot more of it.
I am not getting in the ring. I'm retired and they can't pay me enough. I'm going to be sipping red wine with Kevin Nash.
What's the point of stripping the title off RVD?
He almost died. Did you see that? All the blood? You know what's amazing is
What's amazing?
I can't believe that they didn't press charges against Abyss for attempted murder. Really? I mean, what a waste of strawberry syrup. I mean, do you think they just stood over Rob and just squirted it all over him? Or they just take buckets and just dump it on him?
There's a line between what's acceptable and what's believable and what just isn't. I think that line was
You know what
crossed.
the amazing thing is that Bischoff and Jason Hervey are Hollywood guys. They couldn't have found something better than that. They ran down to Dairy Queen and says, give us a gallon of strawberry syrup. Really?
They met at DQ.
Good thing Cornette wasn't there.
We ordered the beep, 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 so why don't you beep, 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 make it?
Come on, TNA. I mean, you know what? For a show that was going so well, that was kind of bad.
And even how we got there wasn't good. Just sort of cut, Abyss is holding the thing, and I'm sorry, you go to RVD and Abyss is holding Janice up.
Janice will kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe they actually used that thing as a prop even that close to ringside. Someone's going to get hurt. Wait, RVD already did get hurt.
Let's go to some hot news, David, and two items. As we said earlier, Ring of Honor superstar Tyler Black, who's currently the Ring of Honor champion, he is reported to FCW.
That happens a lot, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Ring of Honor champs get signed.
Yeah, and he is there now. Tyler Black, a man who we're very familiar with. He wrestled in this area quite a bit as he was getting into the business and has been a controversial champion in Ring of Honor wrestling. What are his chances in WWE?
Honest to God, I have no idea. They've had some talented guys down there, and they've never panned out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it all depends on what Johnny Ace wants, I guess.
Yeah. And there was a release from TNA just this week, just yesterday actually. Homicide, gone.
He hasn't been gone already?
When was the last time we saw Homicide on TNA TV?
Arizona House Show?
On TNA TV.
Oh! I have no idea.
Yeah, it's been about a minute, as I
It was
said.
probably a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, was it when he couldn't climb out of the... No.
Yeah, no, I think that... No,
He
that
was on
January
after
4th.
that.
It's been a while. Anyways,
Yeah.
Homicide gone.
You know what?
from
I'm sure he's
TNA
better
wrestling.
off this way.
Mhm.
Because they have nothing for him in TNA.
David Hero, RVD, had some pretty controversial things to say before he was nearly bludgeoned to death.
Can we talk
said
about
this? Yeah, I believe we can. Said this just before his appearance at the Hardcore Justice pay-per-view, did so via his website. Many of you probably are already familiar with these comments, but let's talk about them, and I'll read it as he wrote. And this is, pay close attention. I'd imagine a lot of the old TNA guys are feeling like they're taking a back seat. The thing is, you can't argue with the numbers. Last week, TNA broke new all-time records for ratings. I don't think they actually did, but TNA needed a change. The six-sided ring and the great technical wrestlers that nobody knew wasn't working. TNA brought in 2 rock stars, and look at the company now. Dixie often points out how hiring Jeff Hardy and RVD... Dixie often points out how hiring Jeff Hardy and RVD started a whole new era. Why do some of the wrestlers not see it? Too young, too green, too selfish to have the correct perspective. Whereas some of the TNA stars are lucky to get recognized walking around the studios, Jeff and myself live like actual celebrities, signing autographs and taking pictures everywhere we go.
Well, we do that also, don't we?
Everywhere.
We're rock stars.
Without experiencing this, it's probably hard to imagine. In fact, very few wrestlers stick out in people's minds the way that Jeff and I do. We love our fans, and we love their love. TNA is blowing up. Good things will come our way, and I see it happening now. This is a very exciting time. More people watching TNA means more people exposed to the other wrestlers on the card too, as long as they're good enough to hang around with the rising standards. Doesn't matter if you prefer the old style of wrestling, when only you and your buddies knew about it. We're into making money. Hardcore Justice is going to be a huge indicator of what doing the right thing can accomplish.
Yeah, that's how you make friends with the people in the locker room. And what I can tell you is he's made a lot of enemies in the past.
How could he not? He buried everybody.
Yeah.
If you're not Jeff Hardy or RVD in his mind, you're young, you're selfish, you're green.
I had no idea Kurt Angle was young, selfish, and green.
How does something like this get out, David? You'll never see a John Cena saying this. You'll never see a Randy Orton saying this in public.
Because there's no... I gotta be careful how I say this.
There's no protocol.
There's no filter. There's no be-all, end-all. I mean, that would never happen with Vince McMahon.
Right.
Never, ever. You know what? It's unfortunate because that's how you kill a locker room.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first time Rob comes back, boy, I hope he's not wrestling one of the guys I'm thinking of. That's supposedly green. You know?
Pretty vicious statements from RVD,
kick to the back of the head.
Who was apparently taking some time off.
Well, he's maxed out on his dates so far is what it is.
It keeps happening.
Because you got to pay attention to details.
And you look at the Bound for Glory poster, and RVD's nowhere to be found. It's Jeff Hardy, Ken Anderson, and Kurt Angle on the poster.
Who?
Jeff Hardy, Ken Anderson, and Kurt Angle.
Ken Anderson?
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Angle? Jeff Hardy?
Mm-hmm.
You got to think those are headlining main eventers, wouldn't you?
Oh, we'll see how you spin it when the time comes.
There's nothing to spin.
You ever watch that show, Spin It to Win It?
No. Why do you think I spin everything? I just have a different outlook on life.
And that outlook was clearly communicated this past Monday on our ESPN radio show, where you had a bit of a rant against WWE.
And you know what?
You said, let me profile it here, let me build it up. Sunday after SummerSlam, you reached a point of frustration and said via your Twitter and Facebook pages, WWE sucks, with an X.
Absolutely.
Lots of fallout from that.
Yes, there was.
You felt the need to explain it this past Monday night.
And I did, and I felt much better about it. And I even got calls from people that says, hey, thank you for being our voice. And those are guys in the business that know what I'm talking about.
It's been very well received.
Well, because it's from the heart. Not the ECW Tommy Dreamer heart. It's from my heart.
You can listen to that on this past Monday's ESPN radio show and see what David Hero had to say about why WWE sucks.
With an X.
WWE sucks.
Yes.
Not wrestling.
I never said wrestling. Just the E.
All right.
They won't let us back in catering now, will they?
Well, I think I'm on a 6-month suspension, but be that as it may.
Mm-hmm.
Cliff Franklin sends in an email, and he says this. He's from Manchester, England. What was the highlight of SummerSlam for you and why? The highlight. I think you may have said it earlier with that being The Undertaker.
Yeah, that was a highlight.
For me, it was The Miz and Daniel Bryan.
Every Raw. What?
Well, you were looking at something up there. I don't know.
I'm waiting for another light to shine on me. Another epiphany.
What was the worst moment of SummerSlam and why?
Alicia Fox losing the belt.
Why?
Because she deserved to keep it. She beat everybody clean. So once again, they're saying Melina is better than every diva in the company. You know what? I'm not mean. I'm not saying I am just saying
I'm not mean.
I'm just saying it the way it is. The way they book things, they book it so everybody gets buried. Here's the thing. If Alicia Fox is rolling up Eve with a handful of tights and foot on the ropes against Gail Kim and, screw job finishes left and right, fine. Then let Melina beat her clean. Okay? But Alicia Fox was beating everybody. 1, 2, 3, middle of the ring. Made her strong. Made her stronger over everybody. Well, now Melina is bigger than everyone in that company again. Same thing with John Cena.
Thank you for that email, Cliff Franklin from over in the United Kingdom. You can send your emails to us, and they'll be included on a broadcast, or we'll answer them. That's at pwrshow.com is where you can go ahead and send them. And be sure to also follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter username, PWR Show. We're all each individually on Twitter as well. This Monday we'll be back on 540 ESPN with a all-new radio show. And all kinds of hot news, of course, to talk about then.
Is Rashi coming back?
I believe Rashi is scheduled to appear.
Okay.
And as David Harrell said earlier, for those of you watching us on Time Warner Cable in southeastern Wisconsin, Kid Anderson in town this Sunday, 3 to 5 at Romines, a place to watch wrestling pay-per-views and mixed martial arts. 3 to 5, you could register in advance at pwrshow.com or blizzardbrawl.com. David Harrell, one final chance for you to make a new pick in NXT.
No, it doesn't matter. The winner has been eliminated as far as I'm concerned.
Cynical.
No, I'm honest. It's the truth. I love Joe Henning. I mean, Mike McGillicuddy. Okay, I do. I think he's going to be great. He needs some mic time. Okay? Caval's a sexy pick because the internet loves him. He's this year's Daniel Bryan.
This has been the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back with a brand new edition next week. Next week, David, 10 best promos of all time.
I'm looking forward to that.
You can put The Miz on your list,
10 best, you said.
That's a special edition of the Pro Wrestling Report next week. For David Harrell, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you Monday on ESPN Radio.